Hey y'all, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. It is Tuesday, December 28th, just a few short days after Christmas. I hope all of you who celebrate the holidays had an amazing one. Today, we are going to be discussing the latest episode of Sister Wives. It did air on the 26th, but unfortunately, because of the holidays, I missed it. But I did watch it this morning, and you guys, we've got a lot to talk about. So the first thing that really stuck out to me about this episode is when Kody Brown goes to visit Miss Christine. Of course, if you guys are watching this, I'm sure you know about Kody's crazy COVID rules and how much drama it's brought to the family. So Kody came over and they have another conversation about the COVID rules. And during this conversation, Christine brings up some fairly good points. She mentions Cody and Robyn's nanny and how she is basically in the home with their kids on a daily basis. And her big question was, why is it okay for the nanny to be around every day, but the family can't be due to quote unquote COVID? I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but this question seemed to stump Kody on another level. He basically told Christine that this was something he needed to think about and that they would regroup on a later date to talk about it. Shortly after that, we cut to a scene of Kody having a family meeting with all of the sister wives to go over the COVID rules that not only Robyn and Kody follow, but also their nanny. And y'all, let me just say, this list of COVID rules is freaking extensive. Now, during the family meeting, Merri did make a joke stating that Robyn was the one who made this COVID rules list. And y'all would have thought that it was the end of the world. Robyn got extremely emotional and started talking about how tired she is that all of the wives and other family members continue to speculate that she is the one behind everything, that she's the puppet master pulling all the strings. And you could tell that this has really taken a toll on her, that this is how people feel within her family. As the conversation continued, there were even more comments made about Robyn basically being the head wife. The other sister wives kept looking to Robyn for answers about these rules and how they're supposed to navigate through them. And Robyn would literally point to Kody and be like, ask Kody, this is not my doing. I am not behind this. But it was so obvious that none of the other sister wives truly believed Robyn or Kody. But honestly, I can't blame them because Robyn is the one that gets all the benefits of having Kody around. Not only is he full-time basically living in her home, but he's always available for their kids, and their kids never have to miss a minute of him being around. And of course, there's 1,000 excuses on why this is the dynamic and the way things are, but truly at the end of the day, it just doesn't make that much sense to me. COVID cannot be the excuse that's used forever, especially as long as it's been going on. Something has to be figured out or this family is going to crumble and fall apart, which we are watching in real time. And as much as Robyn says she isn't a part of any of this, she's only being supportive of her husband's rules, you would also think if she truly cared about keeping this family together and for the dynamic to be different, she would be, you know, pushing back a little bit. But she doesn't. And I think that's because she's not the one that's affected by any of this. That or she agrees with Kody's rules, which means in a way she does back them and she does support them fully and agrees that the way that things are going is the way that it should be. So of course, all the other sister wives are going to feel some type of way about that. Janelle and Christine did push back on Kody's COVID rules, which I will pop up on the screen. That way you guys can get a good idea of the extensiveness of this list. Both ladies stated that they would continue following their own protocols, and Janelle did say that she would not be with the family on Thanksgiving. She's doing her own thing with her kids, but that she would make a cautious effort to follow the COVID list rules. That way she could be with her family on Christmas. Christine, on the other hand, had already made plans for Thanksgiving with her kids as well. Throughout this season, we have seen that Christine has really held on to her children, and the majority of her focus has been on her children and her side of the family because of this major wedge between the whole family. Kody did make a statement during this family meeting that was a bit outrageous to me. He said that the COVID rules needed to be treated the same as their religion and scripture, and that they needed to take it like a transparency and lay it over their lives to see how it fits. This was Kody's way of pretty much saying we need to bend our own wants and needs to make these COVID rules fit just like we would our religion and the scripture that we follow. And I said this in my last video, I know we all have our own COVID rules and protocols that we go by to protect our families and to make sure we're keeping everyone safe. And it is very important for all of us to do our part so that we are keeping our families and everyone around us as safe as possible. But in saying that, none of us are immune to getting COVID with the different variants out there at this point. Whether you have the vaccine or you don't, you are still very much at risk of getting COVID. Of course, the vaccines are in place to help us fight the virus if we were to get it, but this doesn't mean that anybody is immune to it. We are all at risk no matter what protocols we take, what steps we take. It's going to be a risk factor no matter what. So for me personally, it does seem rather extensive to separate yourself from your own children, no matter how old they are, and just your whole family in general. I understand taking safety precautions, but to not see your own children or have a relationship with your own children because of COVID, for me, it's a bit bizarre. And all of the sister wives, minus Robyn, agree that these rules are too outrageous to follow. Merri, on the other hand, even though that is how she feels, is she has been following these rules, mostly just because she wants to be able to hang out with Robyn and have a relationship with her. Sadly, however, she's been following these rules since the beginning of COVID and still has not been allowed to have a relationship with Robyn or Kody or anyone else in the family. So once again, this just looks like yet another excuse, because even those who are following the rules in the family are not benefiting in any way. They are still very much being punished even if they do follow Kody's rules. The only exception to this, once again, is Robyn. During this episode though, Kody did finally, after 6 months, approve for Merri and Robyn to start having play dates and hanging out again. And the two ladies did share a very emotional moment together after everyone had left the meeting. They both broke down and just open up to one another about how challenging it's been and how much they've missed one another. And here is the thing about it, you guys. My husband would never, ever, ever, ever tell me that I could not see my sister or my brother or a family member, literally anybody, no matter the circumstances. And trust me, I know this family's dynamic is completely different to my family's dynamic, but there is still something called respect, and this relationship that he has with his sister wives, there is definitely a lack of respect there. All I see is a dictatorship, and Christine Brown says the same thing in this episode. She literally says that their marriage feels more like a dictatorship than an actual marriage. As most of you probably know, Christine and Kody do end up splitting and going their separate ways in this season, and I think that this is why. Of course, as always, I want to know what you guys think of this latest episode. Please let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think that Kody's rules are extensive and that he's only using them as an excuse to stay with Robyn full time? Or do you believe that he is in the right for doing what he's doing to protect his family? Also, if you like this video, please consider giving it a big thumbs up, subscribing before you go, and tapping the bell for post notifications. That way you are notified every single time I upload. I appreciate all of y'all to the moon and stars, and until the next one, mwah. Bye guys!